can take if you don't have MDF board. To just give you one or two examples, this is a metal bowl and this is an acrylic cutting on which I have done my resin work. Okay, so this all can be used as your base. Yes, definitely you can do it in silicone molds, but in silicone mold, whatever will be the output, it will be made up of only resin. So in case if you go wrong with the calculation or mixing part, complete resin will be spoiled. So I do not prefer beginners to work in mold, but you will understand how to mix and what are the proportions and everything in this, and then like on a base, and then you can start working in the mold. Fine. Yes, you can use canvas board, not the canvas sheet, because sheet will be very loose. You need something that is very hard, so that when you pour your resin, it has to stay straight. Fine. Moving further to the second most important thing that you need is resin and hardener. So in daily life, we have used emsil or eraldite. Okay. Mirror is a type of glass. So yes, definitely you can use that. So when we take resin, just a second. So second thing I told about resin. So we as I told, we use emsil in our daily life for waterproofing. Some other time we have used. So it's again where we get two parts. We mix it up, have one clay, and that we use. Same way, resin is a two-part compound that we have as resin and hardener, which we have to mix it up. And then when we get one common liquid that we pour, and then we create whatever patterns we want. Now, when you buy the resin, there are few things that you will have to check. So the first most important thing that you need to check is that it has to be a casting or a coating resin. It's very important to have a casting or a coating resin so that your piece remains clear for many years. Okay, if you see this, it was made around 3 years back, and still it is transparent enough that you can see me through it. If it would have been a non-casting or a coating resin, my piece would have turned completely yellow, and I would have not been able to see whatever is there inside it. So that's the reason using a good quality casting or coating resin is important. Also, when you buy the resin, there are few instructions written on the bottle. So the first instruction, mostly on all the bottles, the first instruction will be about the ratio in which you will have to mix your resin and hardener. So my resin, it says that I need to mix 2 parts of my resin to 1 part of my hardener. Okay, so I'll take 2 parts of resin and 1 part of hardener, mix it up, and then I'll pour. There are companies which has a ratio of 3:1 as well as 1:1. But the purpose of each resin is different. That we will be discussing further. Kusum, kitna lena padega, that will depend on the size of your project. You cannot just tell it randomly. Okay. So then comes the second point is the mixing time. So once you take your resin and hardener, there is a specific minutes for which you need to mix your resin hardener so that you get a proper mixture. For today, I am using the company that is called Eporex. All right. But there are many companies which resin I use, like Jax, Chemixol, Epoch, Tulsi Resin Art, Asha Resin. There are many brands that I use, but it all depends on the project that I'm working on. Okay, so I'll tell you why it depends on the project once I finish up with the instructions that is written on the bottle. Then comes the third point. First was the ratio in which you have to mix. Second was the minutes for which you have to mix. Third is the pot life, which is mostly written or not written on the bottles. But yes, definitely the vendor can help you out with that. So what is pot life? So what happens once you mix your resin and hardener, for a specific time, that resin will be in liquid form. Okay, after which it starts hardening. So that liquid form, like the time for which the resin is in liquid form, in which you can create any pattern or you can add anything to your resin, is called the pot life or the workable time. To give you an example, my resin has a pot life of 25 minutes. That means once I will be mixing my resin and hardener, I will have 25 minutes to work with it, after which I will not be able to do any manipulations. Okay. Then comes the curing time. So the curing time is the time after which your piece is completely dry and you can functionally use it. So talking about my resin, the pot life is 25 minutes and curing time is 24 hours. So if I prepare my piece right now, it needs 24 hours to dry completely, after which I can functionally use it. Am I clear with these points? You can just show me thumbs up or yes in the chat box. All right, great. So I told like I select my resin depending on the project. So what do I mean by that? Now I told that this resin has a pot life of 25 minutes. Okay. Now when I'm working on big projects like 4 feet, 5 feet, 25 minutes will not be enough for me because it will need more resin. So by the time I calculate and mix my resin, that 25-minute workable time will reduce to 5 to 10 minutes. So that time I need to select the resin which has workable time or pot life of 45 to 60 minutes. So that's when I choose another type of resin or another company resin which has more pot life. Clear? So that's how you select your resin depending on the project that you are working on. All right. So first was the base, second was the resin. Third thing that we need is Shrushti, I'm using Eporex company resin, but there are many companies that you can try. I would suggest whichever company resin you get in your locality, just try and try with that. Understand the technique and it will be useful to helpful for you to select the resin in future projects. So the third thing that we need is a blowtorch. Blowtorch is basically used to get rid of air bubbles. Now what happens when you mix your resin and hardener, sometimes there will be air which gets trapped into it and it will have bubbles. If you do not remove, I'll show you what happens. Nishita, for my resin, the ratio is 2:1, but there are different resins which has a ratio of 3:1 as well as 1:1. Okay. So here, if you can see the piece, it is super glossy and shiny, right? Now, if you see here, you will see some uneven surface and the pits. Okay. So this is because I didn't remove the air bubbles. So if you do not get rid of air bubbles, this is what will happen to your piece. It will be uneven and it will have small pits or holes. Okay. So that's the reason we need to get rid of air bubbles. And for that, we use this blowtorch. If you don't have blowtorch, people are using heat gun as well as hair dryer. You can use that. And the most easy way to replace this is isopropyl alcohol spray, or also known as rubbing alcohol, which you can get it in any of the medical shops or Amazon easily. Fine. It's blowtorch. Okay, blowtorch can be replaced. People are replacing blowtorch with heat gun, hair dryer, or isopropyl alcohol. So you can definitely try any of that. Now you saw my pieces, they had some or the other colors like sunset theme or the blues or the turquoise blue and other green shades. So you need something to add to your resin to color it up. So that is basically known as the pigment. Okay, so these are the pigments which you add to your resin and harden mixture and will add color to your resin. Now you must be having the question like, what are the other options? So basically, I do not prefer the beginners to invest in all the shades of pigments because pigments are quite expensive. So you can try with one or two pigment, like, for beach theme, just go with one white for the wave effect. And if you're creating geode art, then you can definitely take a dark shade white and some mica powder or anything. So what happens with the dark shade, mix your white and create different shades. Okay, that way you can just understand the medium first and then experiment with the pigments. So what if you don't have all the shades? Priyanka, I have read your question. I'll come to that when I have explained, okay? Otherwise, it will be more confusing for others. Don't worry, I'll answer it up. Don't type it again and again. I have seen your question, okay? So what are the other options if you don't have all the shades of your pigment? So when you are working with base, you can use acrylic paints. Okay, this Fevicryl acrylic paints that we get, you can use this acrylic paints to paint your base and not in the resin, because this Indian brand acrylic colors will have lot of water content. So when you add it to the resin, your resin will become like, will have lumps and it will spoil your resin. So we do not add acrylic color to the resin, but we will be using it to paint our base, and then we will be pouring clear resin and then use only one pigment, that is white, to create the wave pattern. I'll be doing it practically, so don't worry, but it's very important to understand the theory part also. Fine. So this were the main things that you need. Also, you need a weighing scale to measure your resin and hardener in a proper quantity. Also, resin is a chemical, so to be on safer side, we will be wearing the gloves as well as the mask. Clear? Am I clear with all the things that I have explained till now? Great. So Priyanka, when you are working with a bigger piece like a river table or something, where it has a very rough use, like you keep your plates and everything on daily basis, that time you will have to sand your surface as well as buff it up, and it's more like polishing that you do to your furnitures. Same thing, you need to polish it up, which to all the pieces that can have a rough use. But when you talk about a clock or a nameplate, it will not have a rough use. You're not going to use like keep anything on that again and again. So that things does not need buffing or sanding. Fine. All right. So now we will be quickly moving. Why we need mask? See, basically what happens, resin and hardener, when they get mixed up, they get heated, when the reaction happens. And then you again provide an external heat using this. So sometimes there can be formation of fumes, which we don't want to inhale. So that's the reason we need to wear the mask and the gloves. Yes, definitely we are going to do a practical thing, but for the beginners, it's very important that they understand the theory also. So I just finished up with a small theory part, and now I'll be moving my camera towards my table. But before that, I'll just tell you that for today, for the sand part, I'm gonna take a skin flash tint and the brown acrylic color. Okay, this is also known as skin tone or sand tone or the flash tint color plus the brown color. So I'll be mixing these two colors for my sand part, and for my water part, that is the water tone, I'm gonna take this teal blue and cerulean blue. Okay, these are the Fevicryl acrylic colors that I'll be using, easily available. So now let me just turn my camera. All right, let me have. So guys, you want in blue or you want in sunset theme, pink, orange? Because I see a lot in sunset and blue.
Okay, ma'am, we have a mixed responses.
Ayushi, you need to help me out with that.
Yes, ma'am, too many sunset and too many blues. I am also not understanding. Somebody saying both. So, ma'am, guys, we can do something. Let ma'am create a mixture maybe of her own type. Yes, Will
All
that be
right,
okay?
let's do that. Yeah. I'll use, okay, then what I'll be doing is I'll be using blue, I'll use pink and yellow. Okay, let's do all the three. Fine? Great. Let me turn the camera. Guys, I'll not be able to see the screen. If any questions, you can just type it up. I'll just see it later on. Okay, so here I've just placed the bottles. I'll be placing it here. And I'll start with the sand part, that is the sand tone. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll be taking the flash tint or the skin color. And to this, I'll add a bit of sand, brown color. Very little brown. And when you're painting, just go from left to right, cover all the edges nicely and paint only till the part you want your sand to be. Okay, I want my poster to have sand only till this portion. So by going left to right, I'll just make the strokes. Now wash your brush. So as we all know that as the water gets deeper, it will get darker. So what I'm gonna do is I'll be mixing up my teal and cerulean blue plus pink and yellow. All the four shades I'll take turn by turn. So let me start with the teal blue. You need to take your lightest shade first. Okay, so
Prajakna ma'am, the base is basically the MDF one, right?
Yes, the base is MDF. 4 by 4 inch base is there. Okay, so when you paint, just see that you paint from left to right. Now you need to stop after you feel that, okay, I want only this shade to this for this point only. So now I am having my teal to up to here. Now I'll add my pink. So guys, when you add another shade, make sure that you do not wash your brush. Without washing, you will have to take and then just go over your shade, that is the teal blue, and merge the two shades and then just slowly come up. Now I'll take my third shade, that is yellow. I'm just taking 3 shades, otherwise it will become like northern lights. So here also, if you see, I'm not washing my brush. Without washing, I'm taking my yellow shade and then I'll just merge here over the pink and then just go up. Now you need to just come from the top till the end of your water part and then just merge the shades. I'll add a bit of pink because it has hidden. Just go from bottom to top and top to bottom till you get the desired blending. Okay. So here it is with the 3 shades, yellow, pink and blue. Fine. If you want, you can still blend it. Otherwise, it's nicely blended. So I'll just remove the excess paint from the sides so that my piece dries out nicely and quickly. And we will just leave it to dry. So in this way, you can just, experiment with the shades that you have. I'm sure you'll come up with so many different shades. Fine. So now we will, by the time this piece is just drying out, by the time this piece just dries out, we will quickly measure the resin and hardener that we need. So before I measure up, I'll just tell you that there is a specific way to calculate your resin and hardener. Okay, so if you see my pieces, even from backside, they are super clean and smooth. There are no resin droplets or anything. So how do you achieve that? It's only when you calculate the resin and hardener properly, needed according to the size of your base, I'll be teaching you in the further session. Okay, right now it won't be possible because it needs a lot of, which one, black? That is the paint. Okay, the black backside, it is the paint that I have used to coat. So the calculation part will not be shown right now, but yes, I'll just explain you that for this 4-inch piece, you need 10 grams of your resin and hardener mixture. The final mixture has to be 10 grams. Okay, so now just go and try to remember the theory part that we discussed. I told that my resin is 2:1 ratio, and now I'm telling you that I need 10 grams of my mixture. So to match to both the things, I'll be taking 7 grams of my resin and half of it, that is 3.5, as my hardener. So I'll get a ratio of 2:1, and my required quantity of 10 gram is also sufficed. Fine. So now let me wear my gloves and the mask, and quickly we will measure the resin and hardener. So that if you have any questions, yes, definitely type it up. Thank you. There's so many emojis coming up. Vijaya, that's what I told, that the calculation part I'll not be able to teach right now because of the constraint of time. But yes, definitely we will be doing it in the main class. But just to tell you, we will need 10 grams, total mixture of 10 grams. Okay. So I'll just turn my camera towards the table and then we will start calculating. So here is my weighing scale. Just placing up my cup. And I'll start with my resin. So I'll take 7 grams. In case while calculating, if it goes to 8, then make sure to add your hardener, half of whatever quantity is there in your cup. All right, so here I have my resin. Now I'll take my part B, that is hardener. We cannot measure resin using the spoons or other things. It has to be in proper quantity. I will tell you what happens if it is not measured properly. See, this is a piece of resin. Okay, I purposefully added very less quantity of hardener. And you see what happens. It was made almost 1 month back, but still it is bendy. Okay, I can just bend it as I want. So that's what happens if you do not calculate in a proper way. All right. And this is a casting resin. Someone is asking casting or coating. You can take any. Mine is casting. We will be discussing like what is casting coating in the main course when we have. Okay, so right now, as you see here, you can see this liquid is super clean like water in this. I'm not sure if it's visible. Visible? Okay. So now what you have to do is you need to take your ice cream stick and you have to very slowly start mixing. If you mix vigorously, you will have n number of bubbles and you will not even realize whether the endpoint has reached or not. So mix slowly and scrap the sides as well as the base of your cup so that you have a homogeneous mixture. So scrap and mix slowly. Slowly mixing will help you to reduce the air bubbles. Now, as I started mixing, you can just see that my mixture has turned turbid white like lemon juice. Okay, it's no more clean. So that means the reaction between resin and hardener has started. So now I will be mixing this. Again comes my theory part. How much time you had to mix? For my resin, it was 3 to 5 minutes. So I'll be mixing it up for 3 to 5 minutes till my resin turns clear again. So slowly mix it up and see that it becomes clear. Even if you mix slowly, yes, definitely you will be having few air bubbles, but it will be easy to remove less air bubbles than n number of air bubbles. So mix slowly, scrap the sides. Now there has to be something. Yes, you can use measuring cup, but it will not give you the proper quantity. I'll tell you why. My resin says that the quantity is in gram. Okay, it's by weight. And in measuring cup, it's always by volume, like ml and all. So it will not give you the proper calculation. Yes, you can use the weighing machine like I used. You can use the weighing machine that you get for the kitchen weighing scale that can be used. So now your mixture has started turning clear, but it is not still completely clear. Now there has to be some end point, like indication that, okay, now you need to stop mixing and you can pour. So what is that end point or the indication? You need to observe from top and then move your ice cream stick. And when you do not find any kind of lines getting formed behind your ice cream stick, that means your mixture is ready to pour. So to explain that in a simpler way, when you add a drop of oil to your water, when you add a drop of oil to your water and you move your spoon, you will find swirls getting formed behind your spoons. Okay, if that kind of lines or the swirls are created in this when you mix, that means still your mixture is not mixed properly. You still have to mix it. And if you don't find that kind of lines, that means the mixture is ready to pour. So my mixture is clean and it's ready to pour, but I'll just leave it on side and level up my piece first. So now I'll just check whether our piece has dried. Yes, it has dried. Only this, if you can see the shiny edge is there. It has also dried up. All right, great. So this has dried out. It is no more sticking, giving me colors. Okay. Now when you are about to pour your resin on this, make sure that you do not place your piece directly on the table. In case by mistake, if there it is uneven, if it is not leveled, your resin will drip down and your piece will get stuck to the table and it will be like wastage. So what you can do is, again, for me, this is the best option. I use the acrylic paints because they will just level up my piece and they have equal height. Okay, so I'll just show you. Again, I'll be just placing them and then just place your piece like this over it. So now, in case, even if it's not possible only that it will be uneven, but still, if there are any chances that your resin falls down, you will only be having the droplets. Your piece will be secure. Fine. Now to show you a few pieces, here I have done the resin work only on the water part, not on the sand part, so that I get a bit of 3D look, like water is coming over the sand and this part is bit embossed. So same thing I'll be doing to this piece also. Now you must be having a question, what to do with the sand part then? So to this sand part, you can either apply a coat of varnish so that it will seal that part. But I'll not be adding the resin. Okay. Now I will be slowly pouring my resin and hardener over the water part. Do not pour completely, only pour as much as needed. Now pour and then just spread it. Spread it up using your ice cream stick, or you can even use your fingers as you're wearing the gloves. So it's up to you. But see that every edge and the corner is nicely coated, like covered up. Otherwise, you will not be able to do that after your resin dries. You will have to do the complete piece again. Now to just give it a bit of natural look, what I'll do is I'll just extend this resin a bit over the sand. Okay, so here goes the resin a bit over the sand, and just check that every edge is nicely coated. It should not be dry at all. Fine. Now I'm just left with very little quantity of my resin and hardener mixture here that I'll be using to create the waves wherein I'll be adding my white pigment. But before that, now those who have isopropyl alcohol spray, they can use that spray, and those who have this blowtorch, they can use this blowtorch. Just see that you keep 2-finger distance and then quickly move your blowtorch so that all your air bubbles will just burst out. Fine. Now to show you this resin and hardener mixture, Nilima, I didn't get you. Okay, so this is a very little quantity, but this is very liquidy. Okay, it's very fluid. Just a second. So what I'll do is I'll just, I'm just searching for something. Just give me a second. Yeah. So to this, I'll be just adding. Nilima, there is no reason why. Actually, I just like to have, a 3D look of water coming on the sand. So you can see the water part is super shiny and the sand part is having a matte look. So same, if you want, you can definitely cover up the complete coaster and then do it. It's completely your choice. How to avoid air bubbles? Just mix very slowly and then just use your blowtorch. Manisha, both work same. The purpose is only to get rid of air bubbles. So when we work more with silicone molds, we try to avoid heat. So that time alcohol spray works more better. And on base where the coating is very little, blowtorch can be used. Okay, now what I'll do is, let me just remove, there's like a bit more of resin and hardener. So I'll just remove that first into one of the small mold that I have. And then I'll show you how to add the white pigment. Okay, so I'm just having very little quantity of my resin and hardener in this. So I'll show you how to add the pigment, mix it up. I don't want to make complete white pigment extra, so I'm just adding it to the another mold. Okay, now before Dilsha, don't worry, I've not done anything. I just removed my extra resin and hardener into something else. Thank you so much, Sumi. All right, so now before I take my pigment, it is very important that you just clean your ice cream stick if you're using the same ice cream stick. If you're using the same ice cream stick that you use to mix, it's very important to clean it up. Otherwise, as your resin and hardener will dry on this ice cream stick, even your pigment will dry out. Okay, so just clean it up, wipe out clean. Now I'll be taking my white pigment, and as I have around half gram, not more than 1 gram it is, so I'll take very little scoop of my white pigment and then just mix it up in this. Now if you want, you can mix it up vigorously also, because you don't have to see the end point of your resin and hardener. Okay, so just mix and see that your pigment is very nicely mixed with your resin and hardener. Okay, now as you see, my pigmented resin is ready. So this is how you can add other pigments also. Yes, Meenakshi, as I told in the theory part, yes, you can use hair dryer, blowtorch, heat gun, isopropyl alcohol. All these options are there. You can use that. Okay, so now here, this is very liquidy. Okay, it's very flowy. So if I start pouring my resin right now, like try creating the waves, it will only give me a cloudy effect, and I'll not get the super wave effect like this. Okay, you can see the cell effect. So in order to have a very good cell effect, it's important that you wait for your resin to just thicken up a lot, like sugar syrup or toothpaste. If your white pigmented resin is thick enough like sugar syrup or toothpaste, then only you will be getting the wave effect. So till my resin and hardener, it will take around 5-10 minutes to just thicken up. Till that, till it thickens up, let's finish up with your questions. And Ayushi will also be